Richard Solomon, Kerry Kearney. So that was track number 2. What was the name of
That's Long Tall Mama.
Okay. So when you finished producing that album and you sat down and you listened to the whole thing straight through, what did you think? What was your first impression of hearing all of this great collection of music?
You know, it's really difficult because you're so close to it. I need like a virgin ears to come in and listen to what's going on. I love that when I bring somebody, like even off the street, I'll take some, out in the middle of the studio, I'll walk out and I'll say, listen, hey, could you come in a second? Somebody in. And I let them listen to it. And a lot of times I feel like they kind of like, they're maybe being nice about it, so I got to be careful like how I'm taking it at the same time. But I think that, if you can separate yourself from it, it's good. If I don't listen to it for a long time, it's even better. And I haven't heard this, and I haven't probably played it in I don't know how long. So I do play the songs when we're playing live. So, but hearing the actual recording of it, I'll listen to it. If it doesn't bother me, then it's good. Okay. If it bothers me, that's terrible. I'll say, oh man, I should have changed that, whatever. You know what I mean? But otherwise, everything's fine.
Has your music evolved?
Yes.
And has it evolved because you've been critical about it, or you decided that you wanted to just go in a new direction?
You know what it is? I stopped being picky about it. That's the hard thing. When you go record something, go do something, and you have this idea of like being a perfectionist, which I used to do that all the time. But a lot of music is not perfect. A lot of blues stuff, it can be a little out of tune at times, or this or that when they're playing. And there's something about the mood of it. I had a friend of mine who was a classical guitar player, and I played him a blues thing one time. Not that I played, but I think it was maybe some Muddy Waters. And he was like so appalled by it because he was like, oh my God, this guy's terrible, blah, blah, blah. But he's not seeing the mood of it. There's a certain mood in the music. That's what I was saying before about learning from the people that Clapton listened to and this and that, and the Stones listened to. When you listen to that stuff, you're getting the education they're getting, understand what it is. And a lot of music that you listen to, it's really not polished. It's what it is. And I tried going through this one, especially, by not having it polished, by just letting it rip like that. And, we rehearsed it before, and I played a lot of stuff live prior to that. So we went in, it wasn't like just going in blind with it, you know what I mean? So that helps when you're paying for a studio, whatever it is. We had somebody take care of it, actually, so it was a little different. But I mean, hourly, it's like, when you're in there, you got to work. It's not like sitting at home making a record, in your bedroom. It's like every second it goes down, all of a sudden, boom, it's on the clock. So you got to do it like that. So, but I find that doing something, I find also if I do one take of something, it's fresh. And I feel like, and I like it when I listen back to it, that's fine. Get rid of it. Leave it on there. If I started doing like a bunch of takes, I'd be there for like 3 days just trying to get the right guitar sound. And it'll sound like just like the first time I did it. You know what I mean? There's a story about Glenn Frey and with the line, City Girls just seemed to find that early from the Eagles. And Lying Eyes. It took him 3 months to get that one line.
Wow.
3 months.
Did you ever read the biographies of any of the blues musicians?
Oh, yeah.
That you really cherished as being influences to you? They
all have a similar story. They're all like in the same kind of boat. It's always like, about the poverty, about this and that, about where they came from, where they're playing, which is amazing. They play like in these grocery stores back then. They move everything out of the way, all the aisles out of the way, and that was their juke joint. Like there was no real bar for them back then. A lot of them bigger cities had stuff like that. But when you're rural with some of the stuff, like when you had Sun House and you have like Robert Johnson, I mean, they would just move stuff out of the way, and that was your juke joint, you know what I mean? So there was a guy, his name is Peter Geralnik, I think his name is. Geralnik, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But he wrote a book about Robert Johnson. And it was just amazing because he was when he was in college, actually, this is back in like 1961 or something like that, he heard, for the first time ever, he heard Robert Johnson play Hellhound on My Trail. And it's a song that's really, and if you look back at the history of it, Robert Johnson did 2 recordings, 2 places he recorded. One was in Texas, and one I think might have been New York. I'm not sure exactly. But he did like maybe about 10 songs in one place and like 15 songs somewhere else, you know what I mean? And a couple of them, there's 2 takes of a couple of songs they have. On some of the later albums, they have that. But the one song called Hellhound on My Trail, it's only 1 take of it. And the way he described it was like he could see Robert Johnson playing this song, and all of a sudden, he evaporates into a puff of like purple smoke and leaves the earth. Like the way he said it was amazing. because that song is it's so eerie and it's so whatever. And the whole folklore is that he sold his soul to the devil. And Hellhound on My Trail is a part of that whole thing. Me and the Devil Blues, it's all in there. You know what I mean? And even Crossroads. Suppose you go to the Crossroads and you go there at midnight, and you hand your guitar to this guy named Legba, and he tunes it for you and he gives it back to you. And in exchange, he takes your soul. That's what it was. And there's another guy, too. It was another Johnson, too. Besides Robert Johnson, had the same moniker of that whole thing. Although Robert Johnson takes on the fame of it, you know what I mean? And the funny thing, he was 27 when he died.
He was young, yeah.
He was 27, but so was, so was Brian Jones. So was Jimi Hendrix.
I think Jim
Morrison was, and so
Janis Joplin.
Yeah. A lot of people were. Even Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
I mean, and these people, like, they're really, I mean, Kurt Cobain was like the father of that music, you know what I mean?
Grunge, yeah.
And a lot of these people are so big in their fields of what they did, of their music they were doing, you know what I mean? That he basically is the father of rock and roll, if you ask me. And that happened to him. So for him to become famous, I mean, it's amazing. One thing about Robert Johnson also, if you're a fisherman, it's kind of a weird analogy, but I call him the Stripe S of blues. When if you're a fisherman and you get a book about fishing, you go through it. There's Bluefish, there's a paragraph. There's a porgy, there's a paragraph. Stripe S, there's 3 pages and no answers because they're so mysterious.
Right.
Robert Johnson, you get a book about the blues. Muddy Waters is a page. You know, B.B. King, there's a big thing about him. There's 10 pages of Robert Johnson and no answer. It's amazing.
Can you be a blues musician without having grown up with hardship?
It's a very good question. I think that I think there's different ways of taking it. You can take it as a musician and listen to the music. And then there are people that have a good example. Actually, is Van Morrison. Okay, his first album, it was Astral Weeks, and I think he was 20 years old. And on the album, he had a big fight with the band, and they ended up putting instruments on the next day, and they recorded in like 4 hours. You know what I mean? The whole thing is amazing. And he's being 20 years old. He sounds like an old blues guy. What he must have lived. He was from
Belfast
Canada. And all that stuff. He was from, and from Ireland, and he just, you know what I mean? The whole thing is, you could see that in his music, you could feel that in his music, but then there are people like Eric Clapton who he wears a $3,000 Armani suit, and he's got a Martin guitar that I wouldn't ever be able to afford if I even sold a house. You know what I mean? And he's playing blues, so it depends on the way you look at it. You know what I mean? I think growing up the way I grew up in let's say middle class, maybe a lower middle class Irish family and German family, whatever, back in, Catholic, whatever, in school with all my friends and blah, blah, blah. We didn't really have much, you know what I mean? I don't know if that does it, where I'm sitting there trying to think to myself, am I having hardship? It's not really hardship, but what these people probably had, you know what I mean?
Where do you reach inside you to get that blues feeling? Where does that come from? What do you draw upon?
I'll tell you what, I'll show you.
Okay.
But is our last segment right now?
Yeah. Well, but the answer is we could always do more tape. This thing's called bonus features.
There's ways of doing things where I'll show you real quick.
All right, cool. See, this is the magic of both radio and television. So here we go. And if you notice, there's no auto-tune.
Pretty much in tune. This is what I'll do is I'll just do like an improvisation.
Yeah, bring the mic just really close because I want to really get good sound of this. Okay.
All right. Actually, I can do it. I can probably do this. I can probably go like this. Yeah.
Okay.
What I'll do is That's just a
Bravo.
improv thing. I mean, and where I'm digging into or where I'm looking for, I really don't even know. But I can just feel the notes. I can feel what's going on. I could go like this. You know, like I can go like, or go like this. It's a voice coming out like that. I can either do it mechanically or not mechanically.
So when you write music, tell me about your writing process. Is it something that percolates in your head and then you write it down, or is it something that you just keep playing and you record, or do you run around with like an iPad or a phone or blank paper?
That's a great question, actually. Everybody's, you know, I'm not a prolific songwriter. I'm not like that. I'm not like a Bob Dylan type guy who probably wakes up and he writes songs. You know what I mean? I mean, he probably did it one time, obviously, and remembers like 10 stanzas of a song, verses. You know what I mean? But what I'll do is I'll be riding along in my car and I'll just be humming something, and I'll have music first because it's hard to put words to music. I don't know how Elton John did it. I'm sure maybe because I'm Bernie Taupin, he must have gave him maybe a melody and then Bernie maybe kind of put the words in. I'm not sure, or he gave it to him and he did it because when you have a meter of music, Paul McCartney, yesterday, the working title was Scrambled Eggs. Scrambled eggs, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And that's true. But scrambled eggs is the same syllables as yesterday. So when you have that, that's much easier to, it's easier to do it like that. You can sing anything to anything. When you make a parody of a song, you're singing the same syllables into a song. But if you have words already, it's hard to put it into that thing. But I'll have something like, even like Shaking Like Jelly. Like I was sitting around going, she's shaking like jelly. I started like singing it, you know what I mean? And a lot of it's like tongue in cheek. A lot of blues music has this thing where it's like a double entendre at times. It can be funny. You know what I mean? Somebody's thinking, a lot of the women will like that with stuff. Pet My Poodle. They'd always like crazy tunes like that. And, let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. I mean, I've made up 1 million blues songs just by doing it like that. You know what I mean? But I didn't make that one up. B.B. King does that actually. But that's what I mean. Like something like that. It's like it's as easy as like a couple of words. You're singing, and that's how it is. There's no real heavy formula to it. I don't think. Not in my head anyway.
Do you walk around with a pad or a recorder just because you want to make sure you get it?
I've done that before. I've called friends and sang it into their phone and said, "Don't erase that like that." I used to have one of those little small tape, the mini tapes. I had that. And what I would do is I'd do it for like about a year. I'd hum something in it, I'd put it away. I wouldn't even look at it, but I know I had it down. So and I'd make an album at the end of the year. I'd take out maybe like 10 or 11 songs or melodies and go like that and just have it like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this has been going really fast. We only have a couple of minutes left, but what would you like to talk to all the people out there who don't know your music? What do they need to know about you and your music and your heart and your soul when it comes to what you do?
You know what it is? What I like doing is I like when people dance, number one. And people have it's got a bad stamp on it, blues music, for some reason. I think jazz does that too in a lot of ways. And it's like the least selling music is jazz, obviously. Maybe classical music these days. But blues, what I try to do is I make it so it's dancey. So in a lot of ways, like say you're a husband and wife, the husband says, "Let's go out and see Kerry play tonight." Well, what does he do? Blah, blah, blah. He plays guitar. Oh, I don't want to see that kind of junk. But if she understands that we play something you could dance to and she can get up and dance, then both of them will have a great time together. And that's what I feel. I try to give that thing where I am playing for myself. I do enjoy what I do. But then again, I have to make them enjoy what I'm doing at the same time. And if you can marry those two together, then it's great. And I try to do that.
Would you say it's accessible blues?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's like that, yeah. It's something you can hear. It's familiar. That's one thing. It can be original because, I think, to get an original style is one thing. When you hear Jerry Garcia, you know it's him in 2 seconds. When you hear so-and-so in 2 seconds. But it's like, to get yourself an identifiable sound. I think on Slide, I kind of have that kind of thing going, which is really, really, to me, it's a blessing. And so in that sense, it's like that. It's like anything else. Either you can love it or you can hate it, but I try to get in the middle so that everybody can kind of come to a conclusion that maybe they'll all like it, hopefully.
All right, in the last minute we have left, you're working on a Christmas project?
With Michael Falzerano, yes.
Okay. And you'll be playing at My Father's Place?
Yes, on the 28th of December, Saturday. And we're going to be, hopefully we'll have it by then. Right. But even if we don't even have the album, we'll have songs from the album. That'll be great. Great songs.
So if you're listening to this in the future and you missed it, at least there'll be an archive of this.
Okay.
And if not, buy your tickets now. And go to KerryKearneyOfficial.com.